If you're still a Windows user, like I unfortunately am, but you've been looking to get a taste of that sweet Neovim productivity, this video is going to help you. Now, I don't claim to be some Vim wizard. I'm not some Ubuntu genius. I'm not, some Linux nerd. I know a good amount of Linux. I use it in my day job, but, I'm not a master. But I really wanted to get into Vim. I did. I'm a full stack developer. I also do Python development for my day job, and the appeal of Vim does get to me. The keybinds, all of that. I want it. I want it. But setting all of that up is a massive, massive pain, especially if you're still on Windows. So over the last few weeks, probably, I've gone through multiple iterations of this process for setting up Ubuntu and Linux in general. I went through multiple different versions where at one point I was installing on a VPS and connecting over SSH. At one point I was trying to dual boot. Now I settled on this where we're using Windows Subsystem for Linux, installing an Ubuntu image from there, and then loading in all of our tools on top of that. So at the end of this process, you will have a fully set up Neovim. It's going to be running on Windows, and you're going to be using WSL to launch the Ubuntu image, and it's going to, out of the box, have XFCE for your GUI, XRDP to be able to connect to that GUI. It's going to have LazyVim all pre-configured for you. It's going to have Alacrity, which is a graphics accelerated terminal. It's going to make all of that text that you're editing, it's going to be as fast as possible. With Rust and all of that, your terminal is going to be flying. It's going to also install tmux and some keybinds, all of that. So yeah, let's get into it. So if you go to the GitHub repo, it's going to be down in the description below. You will see all of the code for this. This is completely open source. I encourage you, read through this. As a disclaimer, this is a bunch of bash scripts and JavaScript scripts. You shouldn't just be running stuff like this normally. You should verify all of it. You should fork it. You should make your own versions. You should run the commands manually if you want. Only if you really trust this should you be running scripts like this. That being said, this is mostly for me. This is my setup. This is something I wanted, and I'm just putting it out there. If you want to use it, go ahead. But like I said, disclaimer, verify this type of stuff. You don't want to just be running random bash scripts, any type of scripts. So yeah, the LazyVim Ubuntu installer. Going to install WSL and Ubuntu with version 22.04. You could install other versions of Ubuntu, but this is the one that we're going with. It's LTS, long-term support. It's going to install XFCE. We went through a lot of this already. We're just going to skip over that. So yeah, here we'll see how to use the script. So to do so, like I said, verify all this. Don't just blindly paste these kind of commands into your terminal. But we would just run this script. So before that, since I was saying, don't just blindly, paste this stuff in. Let's actually go through the code a little bit. We're not going to go through every single file. You should be doing that on your own. But I am going to point you to the main files and kind of the file structure of this, just so that you have an idea of what's going on. So the main installer. So the main installer that you're going to run to set up your actual Windows OS environment. This is going to enable WSL. If you did this manually, you would need to go to turn Windows features on and off, and you would go to enable this one here, virtual machine platform and Windows Subsystem for Linux. Once you enable those, it's going to enable WSL and virtual machines. And it's going to enable you to install Ubuntu. So after that, you're going to have to reboot. So this script is going to take care of that for you. So what this script does, it's going to install those two settings. It's going to install JetBrains Mono Nerd Font, and it's going to also install Alacrity so that you're going to be able to run Alacrity from your Windows image and also from your Ubuntu image. And it's going to have the same config from your Windows image and your Ubuntu image. So that's going to be pretty nice for you. It's going to have the same icons and same font as well. So this is also going to download the WSL2 kernel update. You're going to need this to be able to run with WSL2. So we can't auto install this. So after this script runs, this is going to install to your downloads folder. So just like this downloads folder here, it's going to install like this, and you're just going to run that script, run this installer, and then that's it. It's going to also install Scoop. Scoop is a package manager that allows us to install Alacrity. Alacrity is, again, that graphics accelerated terminal. And then it's going to open up a link in your browser to the Microsoft Store. And this is going to link you to the Ubuntu 22.04 image, and you'll just install that. So let's actually go ahead and run this. So this will be the first step. And we'll go through the rest of the code as we get to it. So that's the first step, WSL setup.ps1. So I'm just going to close my current terminals. We're going to open up a terminal as administrator here. And then we're going to just paste this script in again. Heed my disclaimer from before, you shouldn't just be doing stuff like this, but this, for my setup, this is what I do. Run this. I already have all of this installed already, so it's just going to tell me I already have it installed, but for you, it will take care of installing these things. And at the end of this, it's going to output a helper file. So we see at the end, the helper file will be C and then WSL setup post reboot. So after this script runs, we'll see here, it's going to actually output the commands itself too. But the very first thing you should do after the script runs is reboot your system. This is going to apply the WSL configuration. So we need to reboot in order to enable WSL in order for it to fully pick up everything. After the reboot, we should run WSL set default version 2. All of these steps are saved here, and they're also in the Git repo steps. So I just want to make that clear. So this is going to open this Ubuntu 22.04 link. So you should, before you install this, so when you click download here, this is going to open the Microsoft Store, and you can install. But before you do this, like it says here, reboot, and then we enable WSL version 2, and then we install the kernel update, which I was showing you before in C downloads here. And then we install the Ubuntu 22.04 image. So reboot right now if you still need to reboot, and then we can get back to these steps. So yeah, from there you would do the reboot, and then we'll do the WSL set default version 2. This is going to be the next version, the next command we run, so we need to open as administrator. If we close it out, I did, we'll do this command. I already have it, but it's going to still say that it completed successfully. That's to be expected. Then we're going to install the kernel update. To do that, you would just run this installer file. Easy enough. Then we're going to install Ubuntu 22.04. I actually already have it installed, so I'm going to take care of uninstalling that actually. So if we do WSL -- list, we can see I have the Ubuntu image here. We need to actually manually go in here and do -- unregister and then Ubuntu, and that's going to unregister it. We do the did it twice. We do the list again, we don't see it anymore, and then we actually have to also go to add or remove programs and uninstall this. So now that we did that, we need to actually close out all the way of Microsoft Store as well. Reopen that. Go to Ubuntu. Go here and install. This is pretty quick. Now if we open this, it's going to do a little bit more of an install, and then it's going to ask us to put in a user and password. This is going to be the user and password that you actually log in with to the the GUI, and also if you log in through SSH. So it should be a good password, a good username that you're going to remember, obviously. And I messed up my password. Try that one more time. Oh, I did it again. There we go. I do want to point out, I am on the Glove 80. This is a pretty new keyboard for me. I'm trying to learn it. Split keyboard, very good, but man, I'm not perfectly accurate, that's for sure. That being said, we made it in, so now we are actually in Linux now, believe it or not. So if we do like sudo su, so we can get to the root user, you can see we are in Linux. So now we are root. We could do cd slash ls, and we'll see all of the root directories. So yeah, we have our Linux image installed, but now we need to configure it with, you know, Vim, tmux, Alacrity, the GUI itself, all the good stuff. So to do that, we need to run the next script here. This is going to be the shell script, but let's go through that a little bit. We're not going to go through everything. There's a lot here, but you should before you install this. So yeah, to go over that, this is the main script, setup WSL Ubuntu LazyVim.sh. It's going to run these installers. So we have base tools, we have fonts, we have Alacrity, XFCE, XRDP, LazyVim, setup, system setup. You can run these individually as well. So if you want to like break up this script, only do parts of it, run these manually, one by one or something, you can do all of that. So keep that in mind. And then at the end, this is going to spit out the IP and port to connect to. So the installers are all right here. These are the installers for all the different tools. You should look through these. I separated them out so it's fairly easy. This will do the install of the tool and also the configuration of the tool for each one of these installers. So that's good to look into. And then as far as the LazyVim setup, that's actually taken care of in a JavaScript script. At the time this script was made, I was just setting up the LazyVim part. I was doing the Ubuntu setup manually by myself, but I then realized that they're very linked. So it's best to do the Ubuntu setup at the same time as you're doing the Vim setup. That being said, I didn't migrate the Vim setup to Bash, and I didn't migrate the OS setup to JavaScript. So right now, the OS setup is Bash, and the Vim setup is JavaScript, just so you know. So when we call this LazyVim.sh, it's actually going to end up calling this setup LazyVim JavaScript, which is going to have its own imports for different tools and installing Vim, and installing the plugins and all that. So look through all that. If you're comfortable with it, go ahead. If you're not comfortable with it, take any commands that you want, use it as a knowledge base, any of that. And then the other good thing to look at here is there's these keybinds, which we can look through in a minute here. So that all being said, let's proceed with just going ahead with this installer. So we copy this command, and then in our prompt, we need to be root user. Actually, this is going to take care of it, so it's going to run sudo here. But you could also just do sudo su and then remove the sudo. But anyways, so we're going to run this, and that's going to run the full installer. And this one is going to take a bit. So just let that run. This is going to install Alacrity. It's going to install the GUI. It's going to install Neovim, Git, Bun, Yarn, npm, Node. Yeah, it's going to take care of all that. So once this is done, we'll be able to boot into the GUI, and then boot up Alacrity, boot up Neovim, all that. Boot up tmux, all that. So let's just get a little break here. We'll do some type racer. See how this goes. Again, Glove 80. I'm not the best. I am not the best. And what is this a quote from? I swear Type Racer, like, has these, like, I don't know the right word for, like, esoteric thoughts or whatever. Like, I'm just trying to type, man. Come on. Oh, I was going for a second there. Oh no, I threw at the end. Man, I forgot the motto. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Let's try a monkey type. I think we maybe have about 1 minute left here. Maybe a bit more. It's about 5.5 minutes to run through this. It's going to depend on the computer, obviously, but... Start over. Oh, man. No! Oh, it's doing pretty good there. Let's see. We're getting somewhere. And maybe we still have at least another minute. All good. We are pretty close to it, at least. So yeah, I think let's go back through and look at these keybinds real quick. So yeah, I put in some basic keybinds that would just be good for you guys to get used to. There's obviously a million more keybinds in Vim than this, but this is just a good starting point if you're ever needing something real quick. So these are just normal Vim motions. You could find these anywhere, and Tmux as well. These ones are more specific for plugins, so maybe you wouldn't find these everywhere, but if you look hard enough, you'll find this still. Like, these are specific to LazyVim. Keybinds. So leader is the space key by default. You can change the leader key, but almost everyone that I've ever seen uses space as the leader. Conquer of completion. This is just for basically your LSPs, language servers. Surround. Tag bar, and harpoon. So that's pretty cool. This is almost done. If we go back here to the usage, once this is done installing, we can actually just connect with the RDP client. So this is going to actually output the IP import that we're going to connect to. So we'll be able to just connect with RDP itself. So you could just use Windows RDP, you could use MOBA Xterm, use any RDP client. Almost done here. I think it does pause. Yeah, right here at 380. Linking the C executable apparently takes its time. Once this is done, we're going to grab that IP, grab that port, put it in here, and we'll connect, and then we'll be able to see the GUI, see the XFCE UI. I'll show you guys a little bit. I'm not going to show you too much. I'm not some master. We went over this earlier. I'm not some Vim master. I'm not some Linux master. I know my way around. But there's a million better videos to learn Vim motions from, to learn extra hotkeys, to learn Tmux, to learn all of that from. So this video is for setting it up, getting you started quickly. There wasn't too many great videos on setting up WSL Ubuntu, so let alone with Vim and stuff with inside of WSL. So hopefully this helps you. Even if you don't use the script, I hope that the commands and stuff found within, you know, the open source library will help you in some way. So here you could just grab the IP and port. These are all local IPs, so it doesn't matter if you guys see this. So we're going to connect. It's going to open this. We can put in the username and password that we put in earlier. And from there, we see XFCE. So see, it's a pretty nice desktop, but I don't like this background at all. Maybe I should add something to automatically change it, but you could just do it yourself. So one of these is a lot nicer. Maybe this one. Up here, you can go Applications, System, and we have Alacrity. So this is going to be your graphics accelerated terminal. You'll see it has the monospace font already set up here. You have the monospace font up here as well. And when we go sudo su to get into the root, and then we cd. You can just, if you want to take a quick look at some code and some files and a repo, you can go to the LazyVim Ubuntu installer that we have installed already on the system. So main scripts, LazyVim Ubuntu installer, and we can open nvim. And this is going to actually run through all of the initial setup for LazyVim. It's going to install all the plugins, all of that. So our installer, it set up the LazyVim config, but it doesn't actually install all the LazyVim plugins and everything. LazyVim's going to handle that itself once we load it the first time. You can see here, if you see the icons here, that means that the nerd font got loaded successfully and the web dev icons got loaded successfully. You guys don't need to worry about setting all that up. It'll be a massive pain in itself. I know it sounds easy, just setting up a font, setting up some icons. Maybe it is just that easy. Maybe it's a skill issue on my part, but I wouldn't say it's that easy. It took me a while. So press Q twice to get out of that. And then let's reopen it again. So when you open Neovim after it's been configured the first time, it's going to open with this. So if you open without a file path, it's going to open to this screen. If you open with the file path, it's going to open to that actual file. But then from here, you can open up the file tree with leader E. So plus and then E. You'll see all the files over here. You can open it. We can just click around, or we can do HJKL. We're in the file tree, HJKL. Enter to open, enter to close. There's a whole bunch of other keybinds for messing with. This is NeoTree over here. We can open multiple files here, and we can, click through them. There's about 1 million things you can do in Neovim. We press leader FF. Oh, not that. That's not FF. Escape, leader FF. And then we're going to open up the fuzzy finder. Stuff like that. There's a bunch of stuff, but like I said, I don't want to get too much into the commands. There's a bunch of other better videos for that. We set up Alacrity, we set up XFCE, we set up Neovim, we set up Ubuntu on WSL. You guys go learn Vim, learn Ubuntu, learn Linux, learn the core utils. That's the mission that I'm on too. Hopefully we can go on it easier together. Have a good one.